Good evening and welcome everyone to this evening's webinar. We shall get going. I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we do that, just to make sure everyone is familiar with the technology, as it were, and knows how to ask a question if they want to. And feel free to ask a question at any point during the webinar. I shall pause for questions occasionally, but just feel to type them out whenever they come to mind, and I shall see them pop up and I will come to them at an appropriate point. Hopefully in your window, whatever computer you're looking at, and to the right hand side you'll see a little sidebar and it has a chat tab, and we're using that chat box for questions. And the questions are private, so if you type a question, type something in that chat box, only I can see it. So it is anonymous. I won't be reading any names out, but just to make sure people can hear, I'm not speaking into a vacuum. If you could find that chat box and just say hi or type something, just so I know you guys have found it, and also just to know, just to check the technology is actually working before I just rabbit on for an hour or so, or completely on my own. So I just want to make sure people can hear before I get too far into this evening. So if you see that chat box, just type anything in there, hello or something, and it'll come up on my screen, and that's how you ask questions. So hopefully people can see that and can type away. I should just pause while allowing people to find that chat box. Okay. Great, so people have found that. So that's how you ask questions. And if you do have any, say, sound problems as we go through this evening, I'll be monitoring things from this end. You can type something in the chat box, and if it's universal as well, if a lot of people have a problem, I can make sure I check things my end. It tends to be a local problem, to be honest, and it's being recorded. Everyone who registered will get a recording of it, and the recording tends to be kind of spot on, as it were. So don't worry too much if the sound goes. Generally kind of catches up and comes back. It tends to be maybe a local problem, but feel free to type in the chat box question thing, I've lost my sound. And if a lot of people are experiencing it, then I will pause and make sure we can find out what's going on, in case it is a problem, essentially, or kind of my end. So that's basically the housekeeping. So I wanted to chat the questions whenever you think of one, just type it in, and we should see how we go this evening. And we'll see on timing. There may be questions for anything about fertility in the mind, but we should see how we go through and see. I'm pretty much kind of tend to be more spontaneous in the moment and allow the talk to go where it needs to go, where I think it needs to go on the evening. So I'm happy to take any questions that come to mind. So let's get going. Webinar this evening was titled "What to Say When Someone Asks You When You're Going to Have Children," and I kind of, as I was putting some slides together today, I was thinking about what to say when you don't know what to say, because often that was my experience when the question comes up. We just don't know kind of what to say. So the purpose of this evening is to help you through that. So when someone, I say when, because it's going to be, often it is inevitable, at some point someone will ask when you're having children, you feel more equipped and feel at peace, be able to handle those situations and feel calm, at peace within yourself. This evening's webinar is being brought to you in conjunction with Infertility Network UK. I'm doing this on behalf of them as a way of, I support Infertility Network UK because I just think they're an absolute awesome charity and organisation here in the UK. They're a patient charity that provides help, support and information for people who are struggling to conceive. And as we know, about 1 in 6 couples face some kind of fertility issue. That's a lot of people potentially can do with some support and some help. It's a free patient service, so whether you want information from their website or even someone to talk to, right across the country, they have a network of trained helpline volunteers the end of the telephone if you want to chat, as well as a network of regional staff. Infertility Network UK firmly believe that no one should face the heartache of struggling to conceive alone, and I just really echo that kind of purpose and that mission. That's why I provide these free webinars with IN UK, and they want to be there every step of the way. This year, actually this week, is their second National Fertility Awareness Week here in the UK, running all this week. So please do find out more about Infertility Network UK via their website. So that's Infertility Network UK. A bit about myself. My name is Russell Davis, and I'm the founder of the Fertile Mind Fertility Coaching and Hypnosis. I put a face to the voice. Some people may have not seen my picture. I think sometimes it's nice to put a face to the voice. Some things about me. I love barefoot running. I run with these strange looking shoes called Five Fingers, but often, especially during the summer, I run completely barefoot. I'm a big Apple Mac fan, and I love everything to do with about the mind, always have done. Even when I was working very different careers. I started out working in IT management and engineering, but what I was fascinated about was what made people tick. My job was mainly about bringing different people from different cultures and different companies together. So I've always been fascinated about the mind. A bit about our journey. My wife and I had a 10-year fertility journey. It started out with my wife being infertile. She was diagnosed with PCOS when she was a teenager. I always thought that she probably couldn't have children, and we kind of knew that when we got married, which is a bit ironic because our life was full of children and teenagers. We were both doing youth work at the time and very passionate about working with children and teenagers. And we thought we're okay, the fact that maybe we can't have children, so we thought we could foster, adopt, or other ways of having children in our lives. Then my wife went on a journey to manage things more holistically, more naturally. She was fed up of taking medication and going back to the doctors, and they just give her stronger medication. So she wanted to try and manage things more naturally, and we found a fabulous gynecologist who managed and treated people holistically. And after an 8-year journey, she got her full cycle back, got her full fertility back. And we never believed, we're going to get to that stage. It wasn't until we got to that stage that having children was a possibility. We were becoming really honest with ourselves. The fact we really, really longed to have children, and we're just trying to kid ourselves with it was okay, because we're trying to save ourselves from disappointment and heartache. So then at that point, we really opened ourselves to the fact that we really longed to have children, and for the first time as a possibility. And then after a year or so of trying, and by that point we knew what we were doing, having 8 years in the journey. My wife did medical biology, and she was now working for this gynecologist. We suspected something wasn't right, and that's when I did my first test and found out I was infertile with diabolical results, and I'd never been tested before in all our journey. So that was a bit of a crushing moment for us, but I can look back and see how much I learned and grew. And that was really my catalyst for me going on my personal journey, waking up and realizing I had these limiting beliefs and these thoughts and this stuff, even from childhood, I haven't really processed or let go of. And I was in a job I didn't enjoy, all sorts of things. So I can look back and see that was a catalyst for me kind of waking up to life and realizing I was a victim to life. I was acting like a victim. I'm very unhappy in life in many ways, in many areas, not just the fact we couldn't have children. And long and the short of it, we went on 18 months later to conceive naturally after going on a bit of a journey ourselves. And I went on to train as a cognitive hypnotherapist, and now specialise in working in infertility. And I can look back and really, really believe if I knew what I knew now, then our journey would not have been 10 years. And I really can see how the mind plays a role in our fertility and our body generally. And the mind and body are one system. And there's tests and studies that show that how our thinking and our emotions can affect our body and even our fertility. In some cases, it doubles IVF success rates. So, yeah, the mind and body are one amazing, unique system. So that's why I love what I'm doing, helping people find peace of mind on their journey, which naturally just changes their biology. And women that weren't ovulating on both sides, not ovulating, all sorts of physical manifestations of being in a better place emotionally, and actively harnessing that mind-body link using hypnosis and other tools and techniques. So that's a bit about me, about my journey, and a bit kind of why I do what I do. And let's go focusing back on this evening. So the question, what do you do when someone asks you whether you're going to have children? Well, when you get asked that question, the response could be in one of many different kind of responses that come from you. It could be shock. It could be internal shock. I can't believe I just asked that question, but trying to keep a calm, serene face. It could be just a visible kind of just confusion about what do I say, a blank mind. It could be a strong emotion of pain that it's bringing up all sorts of things within you. It could be almost nervous laughter or shock laughter. I can't believe you're being so cheeky. Of course, a lot of it depends on who asks the question, as well as where you're at in your journey. And I think a common response can be, what do I say? Kind of rabbit in headlights. Oh, what do I say? Now I feel really bad and I don't know what to say. I think that can be quite a common response, and I know I felt that response when I was asked a question on our journey. When you both kind of feel bad, you're confused, your mind's gone blank, you just don't know what to say in that situation. And so it reminds me of actually when on Facebook you see these things about breastfeeding, and I think breastfeeding is a very natural thing. And I know some people say that they get all sorts of comments, and unhelpful comments and unkind comments when they breastfeed their child in public, but in a very kind of covered up way, in a very appropriate way in the public place, but they still get kind of comments. And once I saw on Facebook these things to say if someone makes a comment about you breastfeeding your child. And there's a wonderful list of 10 different things you could say, which are both amusing but also with a serious point. Oh, I wish those things come to mind when I'm asked a difficult question or someone makes a comment, and I just want to be able to come back with a statement calmly and serenely, and just makes my point and doesn't make the situation any more embarrassing or difficult for either of us. We don't want this to be difficult or embarrassing for the person that asked the question, as well as being difficult or embarrassing or painful for us. And one of the things that I mentioned is actually, is what to say, and having that's in that list of prepared statements, things just to remember. I think, oh, I wish I had those in my back pocket. And the first thing I want to say is one thing can really help you is to be prepared. And I'm a big part of the Boy Scouts and the Cubs, and their motto is be prepared. And I was trying to find out today whether the guys had the same kind of motto, or I don't think they do. I'm not sure if they have a motto and they have a promise and all sorts of things. But obviously Boy Scouts are famous for their phrase of be prepared. And being asked these kind of questions is kind of inevitable. You've probably been asked it already, and no doubt you may be asked it again in the future. So when we're through our journey, my wife and I decided to think about a response back to this. So we could be prepared, but also so we could both agree what we say, so we both know what the other person is saying if they get asked and we're not around. We both know what, I guess, the common statement is, the official statement from ourselves on the subject of having children. And ours was something like, someone says in those, so when you're going to have children, have you been thinking about having children? We used to say that actually we're not sure we can have children, but we're okay with that. And that's something we're kind of working through, something like that. But we were quite clear on a few things. One thing is to be open about it. Say we're not sure we can have children. Not to beat about the bush, just be open and frank and be able to say it in that way. But also we agreed we'd never mention where the difficulty lied. It was unlikely someone would push things after being so open and frank about that. But if someone ever did, or if we attempted to, we were very clear that we'd never indicate where the problem lay. It's just the fact that we don't think we can have children, and we're okay with that. So being prepared really helped knowing what to say in those moments, and it helped be honest and frank and being at peace with it. And I come on to the fact that some people might find that difficult to say. And I'm not saying use that phrase, it's about coming up with your own phrase. And I'd really encourage you to talk to your partner about that. How do you feel when someone does ask a question like that? And if you hadn't seen, I think it was the last webinar we did on relationships, I encourage you to look it up. If you can't find it, I've got a page of webinars on my website. It's on the IN UK website. If you can't find it, just drop me an email, I'll point you in the right direction. But it's about a process about sharing how you feel about particular things. And that would be a great thing to share about, is how do you feel when someone asks you that kind of question? It's focusing on how do you feel about it. What's your need in that situation? And we decided our need, or my need, was I didn't want an interrogation. I didn't want question after question. I wanted just to be quite honest and frank and succinct, saying this is it. And I decided that being honest about the situation was the best way to close down any more further interrogation. And it's unlikely they would. And honestly, we found that when you're kind of quite blunt, well, it's not blunt, it's being honest like that, the other person finds it more difficult and embarrassing than you would. And so go through that process of sharing how you feel about being asked that question with the partner, and maybe understand or agree how you would come up with a phrase you can both agree on in those situations. So being prepared really helps you to do that. And if you find it uncomfortable to say that, and we're okay with that, we're going to come on to that in a minute. And actually, I was talking to a client, I think it was yesterday, and she was saying actually she was asked very recently, and she came back with a very cheeky response about, and it was like, it came across as, you just crossed the line. Do you want to ask me how often we have sex? It was a very kind of cheeky response back. That was quite clear that, do you know what, we're not having this conversation. But she could do that because of who she was talking to. So it kind of got me thinking, and she suggested maybe we could have 2 or 3 stock phrases, depending on who asked, whether we want to throw back a cheeky response or whether a more kind of ground serious response. Whatever it may be, I do suggest you be prepared that the question is going to come. So start by talking about it with your partner. Talk about how you feel when those questions get asked, and what you need in those situations. And you're going to need to lead in those situations, because the person asking doesn't even know your situation. And so you're going to need to take the lead to make sure you protect yourself in that scenario, that you have your needs met in that scenario. And maybe thinking about that beforehand and coming up with a phrase will enable you to do exactly that, because you can't wait or rely on other people to meet your needs, and they don't even know your situation. And as we know, even people do know our situation say the most unhelpful things at times, because they just don't understand what it's like to go through it. So again, it's about we need to take responsibility in those moments to make sure our needs are met. So the first thing is be prepared. Have a stock phrase, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, whether it's just kind of a jokey one, or with someone you know really quite well, or whether it's one with someone you don't know so well. It's up to you. But just to be prepared is my main thing on this. But I want to go on to talk about a little bit more about, so why do we sometimes get these responses? It may be this question, so when you're going to have children, maybe something else, where we have an internal response to the question or the statement, and either it's kind of a completely blank, absent mind. We're just kind of, we can't think of what to say, and it's just kind of mind's gone blank, or we feel overwhelmed with a strong emotion, which means also we can't really find what to say. It's being aware in those moments what is happening. Why do we have those responses? Why can't we stay calm and have clarity of mind and be able to come up with a nice phrase back, which is appropriate and maybe slightly amusing, but has a serious point, while we stay kind of calm and at peace in that moment? Why can't we do that? Well, the question is, it is absolutely possible to do that, and I'll lead on to that in a minute. But why do we sometimes get this kind of strong emotional response in those moments? And it's because you can't think and feel at the same time. And strong emotions make us stupid. When we have strong feelings, we lose a sense of clarity of mind. We have strong emotions flying around us. They're actually, behind those moments is a bunch of thinking in our head. And it's like a snow globe gets shaken in our head at moments. It may not be a question, or maybe a comment from someone, or seeing something. For me, another trigger for this was sometimes seeing uh, young fathers with their children, and just to evoked a response in me. And I never forget a time when my best friend was really encountering a story that his son had told him, said something, and he said, "Oh," and then he said, "Oh, daddy, tell me it again." And in that moment, I was feeling fine before that, but in that moment, wham! Suddenly, I had this overwhelming feeling of just sadness and pain that someone may never call me daddy. I wasn't expecting that at all. From someone who really understood our journey, one of our closest friends. But it doesn't matter where it comes from. Sometimes we get these triggers that evoke this kind of eruption in our body or in our heads. And what's triggering it is this volcano or this snow globe of thinking in our head. We may just experience it as a bunch of thinking, as a busy mind, or kind of an absent mind because we just can't get control of our thinking, or it might be a strong emotion flooding through our system. Because the truth is, we're only ever feeling our thinking. So if we have a strong emotion to something, it's because we've got these stories and thinking floating around our head. And that stops us finding that clarity of mind, that peace of mind we want. We have this strong emotional and thought response. So someone asks us a question, that triggers a thought in our head. And it's just out of habit we do that. Because why do we do it? Because we're tuned into our thinking. And I ask clients this kind of miracle question, that if I offered you a magic pill and said, if you take this pill, you'll never think again on anything, would you take it? And when I first start working with clients, I often ask that in the first conversation with a client. They say no, because we think sometimes certain thinking is unhelpful. They want to let go of negative thinking or unhelpful thinking, or sometimes they realize they overthink at times. They want to think less, but generally we think our thinking is useful. Generally, we think our thinking is helpful. And that's why we get caught into the thinking full stop. We can't at times filter whether something is helpful thinking or unhelpful thinking. So the truth is, it's not what you're thinking or the amount of your thinking that's the problem. It's not the content of your thinking that's the problem. It's the fact you think. It's the fact we think thinking is useful, full stop, to make the best decisions, to be wise, to be healthy. But the truth is, thinking is not a good guidance mechanism to life. If we think thinking is useful, we're going to get caught into our thinking in the most unhelpful times and not even be aware of it, because our thinking is so subtle. Because our thinking generally thinks it's helping us. It paints an illusion of reality that's so believable, so true. We think it's true, but it's our perception. And we're starting to get into what's behind the human experience here. We're starting to get into the psychology of the mind, and I don't want to listen for intellectual understanding. I don't want to make any notes. I just want to listen, have an experience as I talk. I want to listen to your feelings within you as you hear what I hear, say, and listen between the words. Because when we start talking about the way our mind works and the psychology of the mind, it's beyond what our human brain can comprehend. Something within us, a feeling within us, lets us know whether this resonates for us. And it's thinking that causes the problem, so we're not going to think our way to understanding or a solution. It's an experience, it's an aha moment, it's an insight that's going to be able to free us from this habit of thinking. And it is a habit. It's a habit we get into from quite a young age, when our emotional talent is not fully formed. And we start to thinking our well-being is dependent on what people think about us, whether it's parents or teachers or friends in the playground or other people in the playground. And we start to think our sense of being okay is dependent on external things outside of us. And when you imagine looking at a baby's not caught in their thinking. They're not thinking about things. They're pure consciousness. They're just being in the moment. Which is why when an adult looks at a baby in the eye, something happens. When an adult looks at a baby, Their cares, their worries about tomorrow, their hang-ups about yesterday just disappear because they're reconnecting to what's in all of us. And that's our pure consciousness, who we really are. And as we get older and we go through stuff in life, and life is a contact sport, we start getting to thinking about things and thinking about what we need to do to be okay. Because we start to think our sense of well-being depends on external things. I call it living outside in. We start to think our sense of it, our experience, our sense of being is dependent on outside things. We start to think outside circumstances affect how we feel. We start to think that our job makes us feel stressed, or that person makes us feel rubbish. We start to think our level of happiness is dependent on external things to us. We start to think our security is based on how much money we have in the bank, or whether we're with someone or not. We start to think our sense of innate well-being is dependent on these things outside of us, whether it's circumstances or people, situations. And that's what thinking does. It looks outside of us for a sense of being okay. I'm okay if these people think I'm okay. I'm okay if I do everything I need to do to get that attention or affection or love from people around me. And that's what thinking does. It looks for what it thinks we need, but just looking in the wrong place, looking outside of us. Because when we're young, our emotional intelligence is not fully formed. We can't believe, we can't contemplate that perhaps the adults around us have their own challenges and difficulties. We can't believe they're not perfect. And if something isn't clicking, something isn't meeting our needs, we start to think maybe it's down to us. Maybe there's something wrong with us, that I'm not loved unconditionally. Maybe there's something wrong with me, that I get picked on. Maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not clever enough or good enough. And they were some of the thought patterns that I picked up over the years and came to surface during our fertility journey. And I began to really realize that I was living life outside in. I was looking for happiness in my relationship. I was looking for happiness through my work. My sense of identity came from my job title. And the company I worked for was well known around the world. And we go on holiday and people say, what do you do? Why do we ask that question? What do you do? We define people by what they do. But when people ask that question, I could say, I do this for this company. And it gave me pride. There's nothing wrong with being pride in what you do, but when your sense of identity comes from it, when your sense of well-being comes from it, that's when it becomes unhelpful. And I wasn't aware of this. And part of our journey was my wake-up call to recognizing I was being a victim to life. I was looking outside for a sense of being okay. And when we begin to recognize there's a difference between thinking within us and there's another voice of guidance within us, our instinct, our intuition. I call it your wisdom. People think they can't trust their instinct all the time. They go up their heart because they make whimsical decisions. But that's not true. Your wisdom, your instinct, your intuition includes your life experience, your knowledge, your intellect. And that's why I call it your wisdom. When we begin to recognize that's inside of us, we begin to recognize that just as the baby is pure consciousness, its innate well-being is within it. Little children playing in the moment have that innate well-being within them. It's who we are. We no longer need to look outside of us for being okay. Our sense of well-being comes from within us. We live inside out. We no longer look for a sense of happiness and well-being, or no longer blame external things for how we're feeling in that moment. We know it's our thinking about that situation is creating that experience, nothing else. Nothing has the power to make us feel anything. Our experience comes from within us. Our experience is created by our thinking. Nothing has the power to make us feel anything. In the same way, nothing. We don't have the power to make anyone feel something. We're not responsible for how someone feels. We can't make someone feel something. We can't make them feel anything. We're not responsible. We can't control their experience because it's created by their thinking. And that's living inside out. That's recognizing where our well-being comes from. And that gives us what I call the grounding, the peace of mind, the grounding within us, that enables us to stay firm, to stay solid and grounded and at peace, whatever question we get asked, whatever situation we come against. I used to work for a bully. My day, how I felt in my day was dependent on how she was. This was many years ago. This is before I would, part of my wake up kind of journey of infertility was I actually left that job because I realized I was looking for happiness in it and there couldn't be me in it. But at one point, one of the bosses I worked for in that job, she was a bully. And I was letting my experience be dictated by how she was. I was letting my state of mind, my sense of well-being, being dictated by someone else's bad mood. How crazy is that? But it happens. I thought I needed to. I thought my sense of well-being was dependent on her liking me. And boy, I did everything I could for her to like me. When I realized she went away for a couple of weeks, she had a long, extended holiday. Oh, God. My life was so different in that time of work. Because I could be me. I was free to be me. And I realized I was letting her affect me into a deep, deep level. I really thought my sense of well-being was dependent on how she was. And I was trying to control her just in the same way I was trying to control how my mum was growing up. Making sure she was okay. Because I knew that if she was in a good mood, the house was a much better place. When she was in a bad mood, we knew about it. And that's living outside in. We recognise that we have what within us to be okay. And if someone's in a bad mood, that's their stuff. Our thinking makes it about us. Our thinking makes it personal. And we own it. And we think they're attacking us. And we think we need to do something about that. And it eats away at us. But the truth is, just like the baby, we have innate well-being within us. We're pure consciousness. But as we grow up, our thinking looks elsewhere for well-being. Because at the time, it's all we can do. When our emotional intelligence is not fully formed, that's all we can do. And we do it out of pure innocence. And it probably served us as a kid. It just carries on out of habit. And we don't realize what we're doing often. Because the thinking is so plausible, so believable. We believe it. We don't realize actually we're not our thinking. We're more than that. We're bigger than that. So we're an iceberg. A small percentage of us is in this world of physical stuff, of people, of circumstances, of this physical realm. There's a bigger percentage of us, our soul, outside this physical realm. And there's an energy behind life that enables a cut to heal itself, that enables the cycle of life, enable a shoal of fish to swim together, enable the beauty of a rainbow to happen. And we don't understand that energy behind life. It's formless. It's beyond our human understanding. But it's loving, it's divine, it's creative. And whether we call it God, life, universe, doesn't really matter because we don't truly understand it. There's something there. We're part of it. We come from that energy. We go back to that energy. We're part of that energy. Our soul is connected to that energy because it's made of that energy. If our soul, our true identity was a drop of water, this energy is the sea. We're part of it. And the small bit in this physical realm, our thinking, is looking for answers through thoughts and through circumstances. And that's when we start looking outside in. That's why we're looking for a sense of being okay in stuff outside of us. I'm okay if, or I'm okay when. And that's when we become like a ball in a pinball machine of life. When stuff happens and evokes all sorts of emotions, we get emotionally hijacked. We recognize our well-being's within us. Whatever happens, we're going to be okay because our well-being's within us. Doesn't mean we don't want to have children. Doesn't mean we don't have goals and aspirations. It just means our well-being isn't dependent on them. We can continue to move towards them with peace of mind. That's when we find our grounding. That's when we find our emotional resilience. Doesn't mean we become immune to emotions. It means if we become aware of a feeling, we just know it's just a thought passing through. It's not who we are. When someone asks us a difficult question, we just know whatever happens, we're going to be okay. And whatever feeling we have within us, that's okay. Because it's just a thought evoked. The snow globe has been shaken slightly. But that's okay. Because the good news is, when that happens, it settles automatically without us doing anything. Even if we're feeling stressed or in pain, we tend to want to work out why and what we need to do about it. I'm feeling stressed because this happened or that happened, or I might lose my job next week, or whatever it may be. We live in fear often, and fear is all future thinking. Our thinking telling us this may happen, that may happen. I'm feeling stressed because we're trying to find meaning to try and resolve it. The truth is, you're feeling stressed, full stop. That's it. The thought has come up at the back of your mind, created that feeling. Thought's just a thought, it's not true. It's like crazy thoughts. We all have thoughts. And you can let it go. No, you don't need to buy into it. There's nothing to do about it. You don't need to act on it. Because thinking is not a good guidance mechanism to life. Thinking is all about the past and the future. Your instinct, your intuition, that's a much better guidance mechanism to life. That's grounded in the here and now. That's connecting you to that innate well-being within you. That's everything below the water. That connects you to this universal energy of life, universal wisdom. To let you know whatever happens, you're going to be okay. And you can't predict the future. Whatever happens, you're going to be okay. And that grounding enables you to be able to say, we're not sure we can have children, but we're okay with that. It's something we're working through. Whatever you want to say. But be able to say it with a sense of peace. To be able to say whatever you want to say with a sense of being okay. That enables you to keep the power in that conversation. That enables you to take control, have your needs met. You're no longer you're no longer a ball in a pinball machine, scared of what someone's going to say next. You've taken control because your well-being is within you. And you can step into that power knowing that whatever happens, you're going to be okay. And you can say those things with that sense of calmness, sense of peace. Knowing you'll continue your journey. Knowing, of course, you'd love to have children. But you're no longer on this emotional roller coaster. You can get off it. You can continue the journey with that. Continue the journey of that grounding within you. So, understanding what's going behind the response, understanding what is happening within us that creates that response, enables that snow globe just to settle without us doing anything. And we get clarity. We get peace of mind. We get perspective. And we have to say what we want to say with calmness, with peace. So for me, that's helps you and helps all of us, helps me. In any situation, just find that sense of grounding and that sense of peace. Enables me to stay in my power, stay open to being me. regardless of what's going on around me, regardless of what people are saying or doing, knowing that my well-being is within me. I think I'm going to pause for any questions. I've cantered through things a little bit there, but I just generally just go with the flow. And I did want to allow time for any questions about anything. So yeah, just any questions. I know it's half term here in the UK, there's less people maybe around, I don't know, but any questions, just feel free just to type them away. Any responses, any thoughts? It may not be a question, it may be, do you agree, do you disagree? What's your response to what you've heard? Or anything else where we have this time together about the mind and your fertility. There's a little bit of delay between me speaking and things coming through, and that's purposeful. The system, the software does that to allow you to be able to hear things smoothly without any breaking up or any interference. So I'm going to pause a little bit just to allow people to their streaming to catch up and type any questions they may have. Okay, one question is there anything we can do to help us stay in this calmer place? And it's actually a question often people ask. They get a taste of it, they can understand it, they have times they feel calm and they can let their thinking go. They want to know how can they maintain that, how can they find that at times when they have been overwhelmed by their thinking and their emotions. A couple of things come to mind on that. One is just being aware it's happened, just being aware that is what's happened, that you've got caught into a story, you're feeling angry, you're feeling stressed, but then put a full stop at the end of it. I'm feeling angry, full stop. I'm feeling stressed, full stop. Knowing it's just something has shaken your snow globe, and it will just settle without you doing anything. It's not the fact we have those feelings that actually cause the problem. It's what we think about those feelings cause the problem. It's thinking that we need to do something about it. It's believing it and following it and getting caught up in it that makes it stronger, makes it last longer, makes it deeper. So the first thing is just being aware we're having that response. Takes the power out of it. Even if someone was talking to you and they asked that question and you're aware of that response within you, just being aware you're having that response, and it can pass far quicker. It may pass immediately just by being aware of it, being aware of what's happening, the truth of it, rather than believing it. So awareness is the first thing. Second one is, there are no tools and techniques to this because it is an understanding, but on the journey, on my journey, a couple of things that I found helpful was I'm quite visual, and I imagined a snow globe in my head. When I had this overwhelming feeling overwhelmed or whatever it may be, I could imagine this snow globe in my head and trusting that actually it's nothing to do with what's going on in that moment. It's just a thinking in my head based on past stuff. That's another thing to be aware of. We're not feeling feelings about what's happening in that moment. We're feeling stuff from the past. We're applying stuff from the past, thinking from the past into that situation. We've put glasses on and we're seeing that situation, that question, that experience through the lenses of the past. Past thinking about us. Just being aware that that feeling comes up, it's not about that situation. So I can just trust, I can imagine that snow globe just settling without us doing anything. So You may visualize something. Another thing is breathe. Breathing is good. Breathing is really, really good. But often we get caught up in a strong feeling. We stop breathing, or our breathing slows down dramatically. So just keep breathing. So one way of doing it is actually, I'm a big fan of this. Some people call it 7-11 breathing. I like to use numbers 3 and 5 because my experience with clients is for more people, 3 and 5 is a more comfortable number. And I'm sure I've shared it on a previous webinar, but for those who haven't heard it, it's as you breathe in, you count 1 to 3 in your head. As you breathe out, you count 1 to 5 in your head. You just repeat. It doesn't have to be a particularly deep breath. It doesn't have to be a special breath. It's a nice, relaxed breath. And you can do it with your eyes open. So you actually do it when you're with people. No one needs to know you're doing it. And it just helps you stay in the present moment. Because that thinking, that thought storm, that emotional eruptions about past stuff and future stuff, your breathing, your body is always in the moment. Just focusing on your breath, even for a couple of seconds. It's like an interview technique. You get asked a difficult question at an interview. Just focus on your breath for a couple of seconds. That pause, or in your head, seems much longer than it really is. So even if someone asks a difficult question and you have this thought storm, you can just focus on your breath for a couple of seconds. It'll help just ground yourself. Help let it go of that. So there are a couple of things I found useful in my journey. Some of the clients have different things they use as they grow in this understanding. Some have being aware, thought pops ahead and gets battered away. They're literally just in their mind battered away. They have different things. Another client imagined a ticker tape going through her head. That's all this thinking going on in that moment. And that ticker tape, it's just thought. She can let it go. So people come up with their own kind of metaphors, analogies, help to remind them that it's not reality. It's just thinking, experience in their head. A couple other questions. If I can just scroll down to them. How? I'm not sure why I can't see. Oh, okay, I got it. How wide a circle do you think is appropriate to tell people of your difficulty or your journey? I like that question because one of the reasons for doing this subject, particularly during this week, is it's Infertility Awareness Week. And I'd love people to be more open and be able to be more open, have that grounding within, to be more open with their journey, because it's incredible how many people have experience of it. 1 in 6 couples have an experience of infertility. And everyone generally knows someone who has experience. I've been talking to some editors over the last couple of weeks. I'm writing a book, and it's amazing how they've either had personal experience or they know someone who's gone through it. I'd like to have fertility more an open subject, because so many people, and we suffered, alone, because it's not really an open subject. We weren't aware of Infertility Network UK, or just a wonderful charity to connect with. So how wide is a circle? It's appropriate. There's no right or wrong answer for that. Again, it's trusting your instinct. When you find your grounding, when you find that well-being within you, you'll be surprised how open, how bigger that circle can be, because your well-being is within you and you're more comfortable. Did you know what? My well-being is not dependent on what people think about me. Their thoughts, their judgments, their stuff. This is who I am. You can be more in your power. And your instinct will know who to share with and what to share. Your instinct will know when just to say something or not. And it's trusting that little voice within. And when you get in tune with that little voice within, you might find you more comfortable to share it with more people than you expect. And you might be surprised about the results. We shared with someone, they're quite close friends, and we shared with them, and they opened up and told us about their struggles. And we became a great support for each other. That wouldn't have happened if we hadn't been honest. So it's amazing when you start sharing, magic starts happening. People start responding in a positive way. So my encouragement would be, to just trust that instinct, and you'll be surprised how more comfortable you might feel to share, and what positive things come from that. Another question: it seems to be easy to be at peace while alone, but hard amongst other people. How would you suggest handling this? One thing is to recognize that that peace within you is not dependent on anything. It's still within you when you're with other people. If you're getting knocked out of your sense of peace when you're with other people, it means you're thinking about what they're saying, or you're thinking about what they're thinking. You're starting to be outside in. You're starting to think your sense of happiness or well-being or peace is in some way dependent on them. In some ways dependent on what they say or do or think or don't think. That's outside in. It's being to recognize your well-being is not dependent on anything. And there's a phrase that those, I'm going to get this right now, those that are close to you, those are people, if someone says something, you care about what they say. Well, no, sorry, the other way around. If you're worried, if you say something, you're worried about if people care about what you say, or it impacts them, or you're scared about their response. The truth is that those people closest to you, it doesn't matter what their response is, because they love you and accept you, whatever. You can be free to be you. Those that care what you say or do, they don't matter to you. Those people don't care what you say or do because they love and accept you for who you are. They're the people that matter to you. I'm just going to move towards the conscious of time. There's a few more questions I want to get through. But please feel free to put a follow-up question if anything comes from that. We'll see how far we get through. Another thing, comment or question is, when it feels raw, how do we respond when it's difficult, when the last thing you want to do is to talk about it? So the question is, when you feel raw, how do you respond when you don't want to talk about it? The first is recognizing when you feel raw, you're getting caught into a story about this. The feeling of raw, it's like your feelings are a barometer to the quality of your thinking. If you drop into low-level feelings, if you drop into low-level experience, it's like an alarm bell going off, so you got caught into a story somewhere. You start to think your well-being is dependent on something. And that happens, and that's human nature. When you're in that place, you can just be honest, just be self-compassionate with yourself. And if you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to talk about it, it's fine. And what do you say? Well, when you find this kind of peace of mind, this grounding, even when you're feeling raw, you can say, you know what? We're not too sure, and I don't want to talk about it right now. Is that okay? Or you come up with the client who had a very flippant response, saying, and you want to ask me how often we're having sex? As in, do you know what? This is not for discussion. This is not for us to discuss. So I think being prepared helps you when you're feeling raw to come up with the phrase that will help you in that moment. So for me is having that phrase, knowing I'm feeling raw, that's okay. I'm feeling raw, but I'm going to say it anyway, because that's okay. Not about what other people say or think. My feeling of feeling raw is about what I'm thinking about things. Again, it's about that inside out versus outside in. Another common question is, how can we maintain a positive and peaceful state when caught off guard? And that's, for me, is being prepared. When you're prepared, you get caught off guard far less. The phrase comes up, you don't think about it. It just comes to mind. So for me, that's about being prepared really helps you and prevents you from being caught off guard. We had that pretty much that stock answer for 90% of people that asked. That's what the phrase we gave. Because we felt at peace with that. That's what we agreed on. So we didn't need to feel off guard. And we could feel at peace for saying it because that's okay. We knew that that's the truth of it and that's okay. And we wanted to be open because this is a subject that doesn't get talked about. Why not? If more people talked about it, it would be a more comfortable subject to talk about. Years ago, you couldn't talk about all sorts of things. We're far more open in society to talk about all sorts of things, whether it's religion, money, sex. And 20, 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't have talked about those things so openly. And I think it's good that society is opening up. We can talk about things more openly. Why is infertility one of those subjects still is on the taboo list? Because we're scared of what people might think. And if we find our grounding, we can open up the discussion. And it reminds me of, this is something very different, it wasn't infertility, but it reminds me of someone I knew, he's a coach, and he had this experience where he started taking some medication. It wasn't, I think it was prescribed, it was probably bought on the internet or something, to help with hair loss. And he had quite a strong reaction to this medication where it actually made him impotent. And it wasn't the kind of situation where if he just stopped taking the medication things would resolve itself. It caused some kind of something within him, a condition that needed a lot of medication and medical care and treatment. And it wasn't one of the subjects you could really talk about openly. And he was struggling with it. And as a man, and in that kind of situation, he questioned his kind of, I guess, his sense of manlyhood and everything else. But he said to his doctor, "Do you know what? I've been on this journey a while now. And if you get patients who are new to this and has been diagnosed with this and they want someone to talk to, give them my number. I'm happy to talk to them." And he was amazed. He was quite amazed at some of the, horrified in a way at first, some of the conversations he was having with complete strangers on the phone, talking about stuff he would never dream to talk about with anyone. But he was amazed at the response, the honesty and the feelings that came back, and the power of those conversations. Worked forward a few years. He's now a coach, and he was sharing this story, and he even shared that actually he wrote a book and he put it in the book, he took it out, put it in, took it out, and that chapter came in and out many times through the writing process and the editing. Because again, he was scared of what people might think. And often we hold back, we don't say things because we're scared of what people might think. But our sense of well-being is not dependent on what people think. Our sense of well-being comes within us. And once we live a life of fear what people think, so we don't say anything. Whether it's about fertility or not. Whether we're sitting in a meeting, we don't speak up because we're scared of what people think of what we're going to say. That's denying us being us. That leads to disillusionment, frustration, unhappiness, stress, sadness. Because we're not free to be us. We realize our well-being is within us. We're born with it. We're made from this energy of life. We're part of that energy of life. That gives us our grounding and our strength to say what we want to say. Sometimes that can feel scary because it means coming out of our comfort zone. Because what's been familiar feels comfortable. But actually, after a while it feels uncomfortable because we're not being us. We're not free to be us. So I want to encourage you to find that peace within you in whichever way you do that. To enable you to be you. To get out of your comfort zone and be free to be you, knowing your well-being is within you. To say those things you want to say, whether it's in a meeting or whether it's about fertility. Because I can tell you, when you step out that comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. That's where the magic happens. Quite conscious of time, and I just want to thank you for making the time to listen, to be here and to listen. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your engagement. I want to thank you for that. And towards done questions. If you want to find any more information about me, you can find me on my website, thefertilemind.net. Feel free to get in contact. There's a contact form on there. Feel free to get in contact if you have any questions or want to take the conversation further. If you want to find out more about Infertility Network UK. That's their website, and there's a wealth of information and support on the website as well. And if you found this webinar helpful and useful, and if you're in the UK, please just encourage you to, especially as it's Infertility Awareness Week, and Infertility Network UK get no regular income as well. Everything's donated. There's no, there's very small, 1 or 2 paid staff, and everything's built by donations. So please encourage you to consider maybe texting a donation. You can do that by texting maybe 22 to 770, texting maybe 22 to 770, followed by the amount with the pound sign. So maybe 22 space pound sign the amount. If it's just £2, the price of a coffee. So encourage you, if you're in the UK, please consider doing that if you found this helpful in any way. So I shall leave you by by that. There's just one last question that's come in about pursuing this further. This is what I do is based on a psychology called the 3 principles. So I'd maybe Google the 3 principles or look at my website. There's further webinars on my website. And if I could recommend one book, it'd be Jack Pransky's Somebody Should Have Told Us. Jack Pransky, that's Pransky, Pransky, Jack Pransky, Somebody Should Have Told Us. You can get it on Amazon. It's a book I give to most clients. So that would be somewhere I maybe suggest just exploring this grounding further to help you tune into everything that's below the water, tune into your true identity, and really connect with that innate well-being within you that help you find that grounding and stop being that ball in a pinball machine that's fearful about what someone's going to say next, and allow you to be in your power and be you in all areas of your life, not just on your fertility journey. So thank you for your time. Thank you for that. And I look forward to connecting with you next time. And I think we're going to continue these webinars, maybe monthly, and we'll send out details to people who have registered for previous ones. We'll send out details of a future one. So hopefully you'll get those and be able to connect soon. So I'd like to thank you again for being with me, and I wish you a good evening or a good day wherever you are in the world.